Hello and welcome to Witchy Woman Podcast. I am your host, DaNae Sweet, and this is episode 36. In this episode, I interview an amazing paranormal investigator, Peggy Ewing Casper. She is an amazing person and she has so much to tell us and explain about the paranormal world and investigations that she does with her teams. I'm going to just get straight into it and let you guys listen to the interview. Yay! Well, I'm glad this worked out. This is the first Zoom meeting that I have tried for the podcast. So you're my guinea pig.
That's fine. I've only done Zoom classes. I've never done an interview, but hey, we'll just learn together.
Exactly. It's kind of what I was thinking. It'll be a learning experience for everybody. Cool. Well, I want to introduce you. Do you like to go by Peggy Ewing Casper or just Peggy Casper? How do you like for everybody to know you as?
When I investigate, it's Peggy Ewing Casper, so that's probably the best way to go about it.
Perfect. Okay. So you're a part of the All Souls Paranormal Research Society and the Paranormal Research Institute. Man, that's a mouthful. Awesome. So I was kind of just reading a little bit, and it says that you've been doing this for about 2.5 years.
It's probably closer to 3 now that I think about it, but yes, approximately.
Oh, cool. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about your main group that you're in? So the group that you've been investigating with was called the All Souls Paranormal Research Society, and then your group joined the PRI, or the Paranormal Research Institute. Man, I'm having a hard time with that.
That's correct. What we do at All Souls Paranormal is we actually do the investigations.
Okay.
We do private homes, historical sites, various places around the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
PRI, or Paranormal Research Institute, is more about a methodology. The purpose behind it is that all the teams and investigators can submit use a certain protocol when we investigate, so that we can share data, and it's based on a scientific method that they do for hypotheses. And if we're all consistent, the hope is that we can advance the science of the paranormal to be a little bit more acceptable in the scientific community.
No, that sounds great. I think if there are people like you out there and they work with other organizations that do the same thing, if you all follow the same methodology, that makes perfect sense. So I want to get into the meat of it. So I had asked some of my listeners what they would like to hear about, or what some of the questions they had for paranormal investigators. And one of them, because we see it on TV, do you guys only investigate during the day, or during the night, or do you do it during the day too?
We do it during the day too. Most investigations are at night or on weekends, simply because a lot of people work. Right. Quite frankly, paranormal activity happens whether it's daylight or nighttime. The shows do that. It's partly for the effect, or
yeah, it's creepy.
The drama.
Yeah.
And most of the time we're arguing at night. It's not because of that, not just because of that. No.
Right. Okay. Cool. So, before you joined 3 years ago, what kind of led up to that? What led up to you deciding I wanna hunt ghosts?
I've actually been doing it since I was about 15 years old. But when I started, there wasn't all the equipment, so it was basically using your senses. We did have recorders and things like that, but there wasn't a formal accepted method. So it was just kind of, you went with your friends to supposedly haunted sites, and you kind of looked around and decided whether you thought there was something really going on or not. So,
right.
Yeah.
That is.
And I don't recommend it now. I don't recommend it now, but you really need to get permission from the places that you go investigate, like cemeteries, abandoned buildings and such, because you could get in a lot of trouble. Now, when I was 15, maybe not so much, but
Yep, I hear you. So how did you get hooked up with them? How did that go? Did they find you?
Actually, but Lisa and I were both members of other teams when we
Cool.
first met. And for whatever reason, it was just that we met at an investigation, actually, and we just had an instant connection. And we have a similar way of investigating, although she's more the detail person, to be honest.
Awesome.
But we just get along well together. And what she doesn't get, she's also sensitive than I do. So it's kind of a good collaboration. And if there's a reason that we need to bring in other people from other teams who have different specialties, then we can draw from various teams. It's kind of a consortium, for lack of a better word.
That's pretty awesome. I like that everybody helps everybody. That's pretty cool. Okay, so one of the questions that a lot of people were wanting to know, including myself, is, so out of like 10 investigations, what is the average percentage that it just gets debunked as something natural, you know, leaky pipes or house settling or whatever?
Probably at least 80% of the time. Honestly, when you get evidence, it's very exciting. To be honest, it is like what you see on TV. Most of the time, we're sitting there in the dark, waiting or hoping for something to happen. So, on TV, that takes a while to get all that much footage, and it's a lot of good editing, to be quite honest with you. But some locations are more active than others, so sometimes you get lucky and you get a lot of evidence.
Oh, cool. I bet you drink a crap load of coffee.
Yes.
That's my kind of job. That would be so fun. So also, when you go in on the ones that are truly, you know, they have spirit activity, how many times do you think you have come into contact in your career with something negative or harmful to the residents?
By negative, do you mean just spirits that aren't particularly nice, or do you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Almost all the time, the spirits are they're just wanting attention, basically, or to let the people in the home or building know that they're there.
Right.
Most of the time, you just have to think of them as people without bodies, and most of them are actually fairly nice, you know, respectful. As long as you're respectful, they'll be the same.
Absolutely.
A few times, yes, I've had some particularly nasty spirits, but they weren't nice people in life. They were, you know, criminal types, people that have been in jail, murderers, you know, things that that's the ones that aren't so much fun to deal with.
Okay, well, my air conditioner just popped on, because can you still hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, good. Dang thing is loud. So on the heels of the negative stuff, so there's human souls over here that were shitty in life, so they're shitty in death. And then over here we have the non-human entities that are just shitty. Right. So how many times do you think, or have you came in contact with the non-human side of the shitty stuff?
Very rarely, actually. We've had experience with one investigation. It's what we would term an elemental, which means it never had a physical body. In this particular case, it was attached to the land. It was a Native American type of elemental.
Oh, wow.
So it's just a different type of energy.
Right.
And then, honestly, the only other time that I've encountered something that I would say was truly negative was actually when one of my friends had an attachment, and it was not fun. It was a particularly bad. I hate to use the word evil. In this case, it really was.
Right. Well,
it was making her physically ill.
Oh no! Yeah. Yikes! So how did you get rid of it? So how do you get rid of something that
it depends on what type of an attachment it is. In this particular case, there was a shaman there, and the shaman was the one that kind of directed. And it's basically kind of a form of energy work that you extract the energy that is negative, or you assist them in them getting rid of what's negative to be, you're kind of just the conduit.
Okay, cool.
So it was the shaman, and there was 3 others, including myself, that kind of helped her.
Now, when that happens, does the host, the human host, do they go through physical symptoms when they detach, when that spirit leaves them?
Absolutely, they sure do.
Right. Oh my goodness.
This the one I'm talking about, it was actually kind of painful and hard to watch because she was physically in a lot of pain.
That's awful.
It was awful. But hopefully, it'll be better from now on,
Oh my gosh. I would imagine. So out of all of the investigations that you have done, what's, like, I know you've probably got a bunch of them, but what's one that kind of stands out as the most exciting or fun, or just something that really stuck in your head that you'll remember?
Probably, it's hard. They're so different in different ways.
I would imagine.
I'm going to say one of them was Malvern Manor, which is in Iowa. It was an active location. The energy there was very different.
Really?
The activity there was, not only did you see shadow figures and such, but you had actually physical things going on, like the cabinet doors in the kitchen opened, things of that nature. I was touched quite a bit. And Malvern Manor was at one time it was a home for adults that had mental disabilities. So some of the residents there, it was hard to communicate with them because obviously they didn't have the best understanding or communication skills as you might have at a different type of location.
Oh my goodness. So on that, what is the best hard evidence? So places like that, when you go, what's the best evidence that you've collected so far? Like between like pictures or EVPs or anything like that, what do you think's the best you got?
Probably EVPs. We have caught some things on camera, not a full body apparition, although I have seen one in quite a while back, but it was a mist. So, not quite as compelling as seeing an actual figure perhaps, but we've got some really, really good EVPs, very clear EVPs. So we're quite excited about that. Yeah.
Very cool. So that evidence, when you collect it, where does it go?
We put it through software, for instance. If the EVPs will download whatever is into the recorder into various programs. The one that I use is called WavePad, and you have, it takes hours to listen to all these recordings. Going through evidence is very time consuming, and you go through it, and then you listen with headphones, and you pick up whatever parts of it, and you clip it out, and then you put it into one segment. And then we would submit that particular segment, in this case, to PRI, so they could put it through their data collection.
Okay. So say I have a haunted house and I can't get rid of it. So I call you guys and you come out and you investigate and everything. So say you found stuff. So the homeowner, do they get to see the evidence, or does that just freak them out worse?
Oh, no, absolutely. You really need to share with them the evidence so they know whether there's absolutely nothing to worry about and it's perfectly explainable and logical, or whether there is something generally there that needs to be understood and addressed. Well, honestly, 9 times out of 10, it's just a question of education and telling them that there's really nothing to be afraid of most of the time. It's just a matter of learning to coexist and setting boundaries.
Absolutely.
What people fail to understand is that in this particular instance, I use the term 3D world. Since we have physical bodies, we are more powerful than a spirit is. So we can say if there's something they're doing that we don't like, we just need to say, look, this isn't acceptable.
Right.
For instance, in my home, if they come, the thing is that they're allowed to contact me in what I call public rooms, the dining room, kitchen, etc. They're not allowed in the bedrooms, and they're not allowed in the bathrooms. They're not allowed to scare my dog or my husband. So
Yep.
you have to have rules.
Oh, absolutely.
And if the particular spirit is not wanted, then we would do an energy clearing, which would involve, sage, sound, whatever is appropriate in that case.
Right.
The thing is that people think it's a one-time and done. Not necessarily. Once you clear something, you really have to educate the homeowner or the property owner that they need to keep the space clean, and really clearing energy is an ongoing process.
Oh,
you
absolutely.
have to do that for themselves so they can keep the vibration up, so they were not going to have the problems that they were having previously.
Absolutely. It's energy maintenance.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So when you go into an investigation, do you have items or things that you carry with you or that you use to protect yourself?
Yes.
And if you do you mind sharing what that is?
No, not at all. First of all, we would go in, and I personally use what's called a pillar of light. I call in my ancestors, my guides, my angels. Just surround myself in this pillar of light. So I'm still open to communication, but I also am not susceptible to any energy that isn't particularly good to deal with. So I use crystals. You can't really use essential oils so much, because during investigation, smells are part of something that comes up.
Oh,
so you don't need to have, perfume or a bunch of oils or something on, because that could kind of contaminate the evidence, so to speak.
Oh, absolutely.
So in this case, I would probably use, normally I'd carry like black tourmaline, selenite, amethyst usually to help the communication, and possibly something grounding like hematite, jasper or whatever, just so I don't get too out of it, because I'm the person that tends to be able to connect to the spirit, so we can get evidence on the equipment. So I kind of get out there a little bit, so I have to watch myself. And then when an investigation's over, when we're leaving the site, we use sage. We will smudge ourselves, our equipment, and we say out loud to the spirits that they have to stay in that location. They are not allowed to come with us. So it's a combination of things.
Oh, cool. Well, that's good. That's what I was going to ask. Have you ever had anybody follow you home before?
I certainly have, and it was because I didn't take proper measures when I left the investigation. I was tired. It's been a long night, so it's just like, oh, let's just get in the car and go. Well, a couple of times that was not the best thing to do. So yes, I've had attachments myself.
Oh, fun. So how do you feel about, there's one investigator online in particular that I know has opposite ends of, like, you either hate him or they love him, Zach Bagans. So how do you feel about his methodology? And what I mean by that is he tends to taunt or provoke, and versus communicate.
I personally do not like provoking. I look at it as, if you came into somebody's space or home and you were immediately attacking them or being, taunting them or whatever, I wouldn't want to talk to that person. I would just simply either not interact at all,
Right.
Or you get a lot of get out. Well, yeah, okay, get out because you're not being nice. So
Right.
for me, I don't believe in it. I will say for a television show, I understand that they're trying to get footage to make a
Mhm.
show. So
Right.
it's part of the entertainment.
It is.
So even though I don't particularly like that, I also understand when they're celebrities and they're making shows, sometimes they have to do things that
Right.
I wouldn't do.
Right. Oh, absolutely. No, I can totally understand that. Yeah, I will admit it's entertaining. I have watched the show just because it is entertaining, and I ain't gonna lie, he's got muscles and, you know,
Yeah. A lot of girls
I'm
love
a hot-blooded woman. I can't help it. so it is entertaining on a couple different levels, but he will irritate me at times. I'm like, you know, the way I see it is like you, like a lot of these are human souls. So man, they just don't have any meat suits, and it's rude. Like I would never speak that way to somebody across the room in a meat suit. So I would never do that to a spirit either. so,
Correct.
so sometimes he can rub me the wrong way.
Yeah, and different people have different methods, and it's not saying that they're all bad.
No.
You have to do what you do, but for
Yeah.
me personally and my team, I don't like provoking.
Right, same. And then on the same, on his, staying with Mr. Zach, so he collects all these haunted items,
Yes.
and he likes to be with them and live with them. And to me, I mean, if they were truly like, if my pumpkin had an attachment, I sure as hell wouldn't want it in my house or anywhere near it. Like, it just blows my mind that that he would be okay with that. So to me, it's like he doesn't take this very serious, or I don't know if it's lack of education, or he's just, ooh, I'm man, I gotta, trying to do this a little.
That's a good point. I have not personally met Zach.
Yeah.
I happen to know his tech manager, but
Yeah.
To be completely fair, I don't personally have haunted quote unquote items in my home.
Yeah.
But since the spirits know that I can hear them and feel them when they're present,
Mm-hmm.
they do tend to be attracted to me.
Oh yeah.
So, you can look at it a couple of different ways. If I knew something was actually haunted,
Mm-hmm.
if it wasn't particularly a nice type of energy,
Right.
I would probably clear it.
Absolutely.
And there's certain things that I think tend to have that you, if you would get them, that jewelry is one thing that tends to be rather personal for people.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I probably would never buy is a bed, because that's another thing that is very, very, very personal.
Yep.
I do have some antiques and things, but they came from my family.
Right.
I don't have a problem with that because they recognize my energy and the other way around.
Absolutely. I have some antiques in the house, and I have one, I will feel it, make sure that I don't feel like anything is bad, but before it comes into my house, it gets cleansed, it gets the full gamut before it comes on my property. That way I know I'm good, because I do love that old stuff. It's fun.
I think a lot of people that investigate do. It's not just about the thrill of capturing evidence.
No.
Most of us love history. We love old buildings. We love the idea of being able to help raise funds for the historic sites so they can stay open and be maintained and such. That's a lot of what we do as well.
Yeah. My husband, speaking of that, my husband we're trying to find fun things to do for the month of October, because I love all things fall and spooky and for the podcast. And he found out that in Deadwood, the old jail that's near the cemetery is open as a Airbnb. And you can go and you can stay, and it was reasonable. We're trying to find something reasonable. A lot of these haunted locations are so expensive. And this one is reasonable. So I'm kind of excited. We're going to head up there. I'm going to do a spirit walk, see what I can see. We don't have much equipment. I have a camera, and I have a night vision thing that I got a long time ago. We're going to play around and just kind of see. But I thought it would be we've been searching for places like that that have historical value, that would be entertaining for us to go see, and that somebody else might enjoy seeing what we found, you know. And that was one that stuck out for us the most. So I'm excited.
And another thing I would suggest, especially when you don't have a big budget for a lot of equipment, which, you know, a lot of teams don't,
Oh, yeah.
is get yourself a recorder. Because
And I have. Yep.
Great.
I write and I do interviews for my book. So I've got a really nice digital recorder that we're going to take. So
Perfect.
that's like the only thing I have equipment wise that's like high tech. So,
you know, honestly, even with all the gadgets and, you know, all the things that we use nowadays, the best tool to investigate to me is your own senses. Because if you're sensitive to spirits, you're going to feel the change in the atmosphere. You're going to feel the cold spots. You're going to feel that, you know, that spider webby feeling, the heaviness when the atmosphere changes, all those things.
I'm excited.
Your best tool. Yeah.
I'm super excited. I've never gone to a place with the intention, besides the Stanley Hotel. Once when I was younger, we went to the Stanley and like ghost hunted with our, you know, camera phones. And it was a lot of fun. But this is the first time that we're going to go and we're going to stay. And this is my intention, is to try to communicate and get the communication on, you know, some kind of recording.
Yeah. And I've been to the Stanley. I don't think they do investigations or they open to that anymore, unfortunately. No. They want to be known more as a wedding type venue. But I will say, when I was there, and it's been 10 years ago, it was definitely had activity. I went with my sister in this particular case. We got some really great stuff. Probably the best story is we'd both gone down to the spa to get you know, a massage, that kind of thing. And she was in the room with her massage therapist. Well, there'd been a rumor that there was a ghost cat that hung around where the spa area was. She was getting her massage, and all of a sudden, a candle that was not lit, it hadn't been lit, suddenly fell off the shelf and shattered. Woo! Well, the massage therapist, I guess, had never experienced anything. The poor girl shrieked and ran out of the room. And of course, my sister was intrigued.
Oh, yeah. I'd be like, what?
So we think perhaps it was maybe the ghost cat, although she didn't have a camera, or, you know, she was getting a massage. So unfortunately, we didn't capture anything on, you know, equipment. But it was a cool experience. It really was.
That's so cool. Well, I'm excited. I'm excited that you're able to do this work and share it with other people, because I think the more awareness and the more logical, like you guys are going about this in a very scientific and logical manner, which translates to the Muggle world, you know, very well.
Correct. And, you know, paranormal is kind of, you know, people kind of like, oh, right, you know. But if you can use scientific methodology, and what our Paranormal Research Institute does is we do what's called random number generator. It's a program that it's a scientific basis for hypotheses. And what it is about looking at the probability of how often something would occur randomly versus, you know, not being coincidence.
Okay.
And the lower the p-value, the less likely that it is just random occurrence. And we've been having some really good results that we are getting compiled, and we're having an independent person kind of look at our data, so there's no bias, things of that nature. So yeah, we're kind of excited about that, and we hope all the other teams will use the same method, and that way we really have data that's consistent and comparable.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be have some congruency, you know. Oh, awesome. Well, I guess that's all I really had. How do people get a hold of you?
We have a page on Facebook, Paranormal Research, Paranormal Research Institute is the data collection team. And then we also, Paranormal Research Society also has a Facebook page. It has numbers. It also has the links to the websites.
Okay.
So if they are having issues and they need assistance in finding out whether they really have something to worry about or whether
Mhm.
it's, then they can contact us that way.
Perfect.
Paranormal Research Institute is based in the Chicago area.
Okay.
Uh, my partner and I are based in the Kansas City area. She's in Olathe and I'm in South Kansas City. So we kind
Okay.
of go to Iowa,
Oh,
Kansas,
wow.
Midwest.
Very, very cool. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I had a great time talking to you and learning about this a little bit more from somebody besides TV. Right?
Okay, well, it was a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. And I hope I helped answer some of the questions that your viewers had.
Absolutely. I think they're going to love this episode.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Peggy, for coming on. I just wanted to say that one more time. It was a joy and so much fun to be able to see you and talk to you and learn a little bit more about the paranormal and the investigation side of things. So if anybody has any questions about this episode that you would like to ask her, I'm going to put her contact information in the show notes and her information if you would like to have an investigation done. If you're in her area that her teams cover and you have a paranormal issue, please contact her. And if she cannot help you, if she's too far away from you, I am sure she can help connect you with an authentic team that can help you with your paranormal issues. If you'd like to contact me, you can always get me on our Facebook page, Witchy Woman Podcast, and then go ahead and like our group, Witchy Woman Friends. It's a closed group, so if you're not out of the closet yet, no one's going to see what you post. It's a really great group with some awesome people in it. We share fun witchy memes, ask questions, we talk about episodes. I kind of trying to keep posting about when the full moons are and when the new moons, and kind of have everybody share their experiences. You can also get a hold of me on Instagram at Witchy Woman Podcast. If you like Twitter, I'm also on Twitter, DaNae _sweet_. And if you'd like to support the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/Witchy Woman Podcast. And there's going to be some options for you as to what tier you'd like to choose as far as support goes. Any of those tiers gets you into our WW Coven. Now what that is a private group that you'll get a link to and a password once you join Patreon. And what we do there are full moon rituals. We've done some new moon stuff, Sabbath rituals. We're going to start doing some 101 videos next week, and we are also going to be doing some spells that I got. I got a brand new spell book, and I'm super excited to try it out. So I thought we would do some spells there. Also, episodes that have interviews with video. That is where you're going to be able to see that stuff. I would love to be able to put it on Patreon, but the Patreon page has got some issues with video. So for now, any of the interviews that you'd like to watch are going to be in the WW Coven group. And as I said before, to get there, you just got to go to the Patreon page and select one of the support buttons. Thank you so much for all the new listeners and for all of the current listeners. I really appreciate each and every one of you. I'm so sorry about this episode coming out late. I had an impromptu doctor's appointment, and then my daughter had homecoming coronation tonight, so I am just getting this shit out so late, and I am so sorry. But anyway, thank you so much for listening to me, and as always, stay witchy. Bye-bye.